join me in giving a warm welcome to Chiqui Medallo.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Now, let me just immediately lower the bar with this predictably overused question. What's it like to be a human designer in the age of AI and data? Safe enough for your small talk, but fancy enough to make it to your conference headlines. Why? Because nobody wants to get replaced. Nobody wants to get left behind. Everybody wants to 10x themselves. No matter what we do to catch up to technology, there seems to be this quiet anxiety humming underneath every breakthrough. And I guess it's because AI can give us more answers, more designs, more prototypes in lightning speed. But the resounding truth is that only humans can decide what matters. And in designing data visualizations, I believe that it has and always been making compelling stories. It's by designing not only to inform, but also to inspire action. So in a world where producing output has become a commonplace, how can the human stand out? If we tell the LLM to generate a chart that tells the user how many steps she's made in a day, it will do just that. But what if you tell the LLM to generate a chart that tells the user if she's actually met her goal? Then it will generate something completely different. Because the human decided what mattered, it's able to change the way the user felt. From I walked 3,000 steps today to I need to walk more tomorrow. This is a true testament that the input greatly defines the output. As a career shifter transitioning into design, I was convinced I had nothing to bring to the table because when served with large data sets and advanced technology, what value does expertise in language bring? But after years of working at Human Managed, I realized that what I had thought was a disadvantage was actually very relevant because dashboards are used to communicate. And my role as the designer is to transform raw data into human understanding. My role was still about language after all. I just had to learn new ones, such as the design language and a little bit of the data language. In pragmatics, we learned about speech acts, which is the function performed by the words that we say. When somebody tells you, who doesn't love a good design? You'll probably pause and ask yourself, is this person really asking a question? Or is he just simply stating the obvious? And that's because we don't immediately pay attention to the individual words or the form. We focus on the function. And because dashboards are used to communicate, they perform these same speech acts. And again, the chart from earlier, the neutral one, it's simply declarative. It's telling you that you walked. But this green chart is more imperative. It's telling you to walk more. Form follows function. In language, we change the grammar. But in design, we change the visual form to change what we want to convey. That second chart, however, should not exist in a vacuum. A flow needs to be followed, and here's why. A single visualization, no matter how well designed or strategically colored or emotionally charged, is just a moment. It's a snapshot and lacks sequence. A story needs a beginning, a middle, and an end. The beginning sets up the world and establishes what we know. It gives us context for us to understand the scenes that are yet to unfold. The middle introduces conflict and tension. It creates stakes. And finally, the end. It provides resolution and clarity. Every story needs all three. If you don't develop each act well, your story might be entertaining, but not captivating. The same goes with data stories. Your audience needs to follow this same arc, not because it's beautiful, but because that's how brains are wired to process, believe, and act on information. Act 1, the setup. This is where we tell the users, we have your data. This is the count of steps, or what we call events. In this stage, we establish trust to get more engagement. So we can get more context and ask questions like, would you like to set your target? Now, this target is what enables us to show the discrepancy, to show that green chart. In Act 2, we combine events, which is the count of steps, and the context, which is the target, to generate what we call intelligence. And finally, in Act 3 is where we give direction by providing options and recommendations. At Human Managed, this is what we call decisions and actions. You cannot drop a problem and not tell the user how to solve it. You need to provide clarity so that the user understands what happened, why it happened, and what they can do about it. And so you've written your script, but turning that into a movie is a whole different kind of effort. This design to delivery process is what we call design ops, and it isn't devoid of problems. And so I'd like to spend the rest of this keynote talking about 3 main challenges involving big data and AI, and how we as designers might rise to that challenge. Number 1, you have the design ready, but somebody tells you the data is not available. Unfortunately, data collection is not always as simple as wearing a watch to get the number of steps. Data collection often involves processes that are out of the designer's control. So what can we do about it? You have to prepare your team to accommodate the not so ideal and the ideal. I have learned that coders or engineers do not appreciate being blindsided. And so you tell them that this is the current state, but here's the target state, so that they can prepare the foundation for the code to scale. Number 2, the path to getting the data that you need is a long, winded road. And that road is what we call the infamous data pipeline. As designers, we strive to solve the user's problems. but often get involved downstream, where we get a set of requirements, such as use this layout. But will that layout really solve anything? And so I urge you to get involved from the very beginning. Ask why that data is being collected in the first place. And if the data point that you need is not being collected, say so and emphasize the problem that you want to solve. And when you tread that pipeline, you'll talk to many of your colleagues who won't be speaking the same design language. For example, if I wanted to get that green chart out, I'd probably say, I want to highlight when users are falling behind their targets. Some data engineers will understand this, but some won't. And so I'll try to speak their language. Instead, I'll say, can we set up a calculated field that compares actual daily values against target values? I cannot emphasize enough how much time I've saved learning their language and how most often I get the data that I need. The third is more of an existential rather than an operational one. I'm sure I'm not alone, or I'm not the only one who has resisted or is resisting the use of AI. And that's because tedious processes such as prototyping suddenly became instant and efficient. It even generated code. But designer input has never been more crucial. Because if we leave everything to AI, we just end up with generic interfaces and elements. Your design taste is the competitive advantage. And so I'd like to end with a question that I began with. What's it like to be a human designer in the age of AI and data? It's exhausting and empowering at the same time. It's exhausting because of all the tools you'll have to learn and unlearn. The new work that AI has introduced. Because you're not only a designer, you're also a validator. Empowering because, again, you're not only a designer, but with AI, you also have the ability to make and create your ideas come to life. Thank you.